Akinwolere here, and welcome to the Athletic FC. After 8 games, RC Strasbourg are third in Ligue 1, 2 points behind league leaders Marseille, and just 1 point behind European champions PSG. Today we're bringing you a special episode, sitting down with the man at the helm, current Strasbourg head coach Liam Rosenior. Alongside me today, we've also got Anka as well. We'll be discussing RC Strasbourg's incredible start to the season, his managing style, working in a multi-club ownership model, and also the importance of representation and role models. Well, time to welcome our special guest onto the podcast, RC Strasbourg head coach Liam Rosenior. Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. How you doing, man?
Yeah, really good. It's nice to be on with you guys. I hope we have a nice conversation, enjoy it, and see what happens. But no, everything's really good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, you're working with two of the best in the business here, me and Anka, so you're in safe hands.
It's humble as well.
Right, do you know what? At the time of recording, you've firstly got a conference match ahead of you, and also you've got a big clash with Lyon away on Sunday. But I want to start a bit further back. I want to start at the thrilling 3-3 draw at Parc des Princes. I mean, 3-3 against Paris Saint-Germain. Incredible stuff. You guys came astonishingly close to your first away win at PSG. Firstly, I know you didn't win it, but you must be so proud of the boys.
Yeah, I think in football, it's one of those sports where you can play really, really well and you don't always win. You can play really badly and you can win, and you can play really well and you can lose. The way I gauge my team is always on performance, and in terms of our performance and our bravery and the players' engagement, enthusiasm and energy, as a manager you can't ask for any more. So even if we'd lost the game, the way that the players conducted themselves and the way that they wanted us to play, I was so proud. It was one of the proudest moments of my career, but hopefully there's many more to come as well.
I watched the extended highlights of that game, your second goal in particular. So you go a goal down, you go 3-1 up, and it ends in a draw. But your second goal in particular comes about from you pressing really, really high up the field. You sort of nick the ball off Desiree Doué, and then it's a really cool finish. Sort of, how do you encourage your football team to press really, really high up against the PSG side that many clubs just decide to drop deep and stay compact?
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to play football. But for me, I always want to be in a team. When I played football, I always wanted to be in a team that was in the dominant team, that enjoyed playing, that could express themselves. You can dominate the game in many ways. To have the ball is great, but you can dominate space and territory. And one of the biggest things from my career, I worked really hard as a young boy to be a professional footballer, to play at stages like the Parc des Princes or Old Trafford or Stamford Bridge or Anfield. And when I was playing for maybe the lesser teams in the Premier League, my life's work was to play. And then we turn up, and then I wouldn't touch the ball for 90 minutes, and I'd come off the pitch, and I'd have a feeling of maybe I could have done more, but I wasn't able to because of the tactical restrictions that were placed upon us. Now, for me, when I coach a team, I want my team to enjoy what they do. I want them to feel like they are children, because that's where your enthusiasm for football comes from. You know, you have to love the game to make it. And normally to love the game, you have to express yourself with the ball. So pressing is an extension of that. Pressing is trying to get the ball back as quickly as possible and to play with energy. And that's just the way I like to play football. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I always want to see my team play with an enthusiasm and a joy for the game.
How do you not get into your head so much when you're playing someone like Luis Enrique? We talk about him being a tactical genius. We talk about him being a Champions League winner. See all the stuff he's done at Barcelona. How do you maintain your level as well and go, actually, this is our game. This is how I want us to play, and translate that to your players as well?
I don't think about it. Obviously, Luis Enrique is an incredible player. He was one of my heroes as a player. He could play every position on the pitch. And as a coach, seeing it from here last year, what he did with that team, how together they are in every aspect of the game, how hard they run, how intense they are. An incredible manager. But I think if you start thinking about all of the outside, or as Luis Enrique or as Paris Saint-Germain, you're not doing your job properly. So my focus is on my team. My focus is on analysing with my staff the opposition the best that we can, trying to make my team the best we can be. I don't really think about the outside noise or anything. I'm just focused on what's happening with my team.
To talk about your team just a little bit, right now you've got a striker who's got 7 goals in 8 games, Joaquin Panicelli. I hope I've got that name correct. So he's just arrived in France. This is his first season, and he's already hit the ground running. When you get a player like that, what's the sort of approach from your coaching team to make sure he can hit the ground running?
That's a great question. I would say 90% of it is down to the player. In terms of Joaquin, his mentality. I remember my first conversation with him, and he'll laugh because within 10 seconds of speaking to him, I messaged the head of recruitment while I was on the call with him saying, "You need to sign this kid. I love him." Just how his mentality is top, and he would fit right into what we want to do. How we integrate our players, we always do a presentation to them about the way that we play before we sign them, so they know exactly what they're coming into. We do not just me, my staff, we do lots of one-to-one meetings with Joaquin. So in the short time he's been here, he's probably had 5 or 6 30 to 45 an hour long meetings with the staff about his position, where he needs to be on the pitch. But other than that, it's down to the players. He's a magnificent player. I'm not surprised at the start he's made, and I'm hoping it continues for him because he's a great character. He's got a great mentality. He works so hard in training. And normally when you work hard in training, it comes off for you in the game. And I was really delighted for his performance on Friday night.
He's got a phenomenal leap.
Incredible. He's a throwback. From England, we called him Jeff Horsfield or Brian McBride. He's a throwback. He's an old school centre forward. He's like an Argentinian Alan Shearer. You don't get many of those types anymore of strikers who are so good in the box. His timing on his headers are amazing. He does it all the time in training. And I think in the modern day, to have a throwback centre forward who works so hard for the team, who's brilliant in the box, who not just in terms of attacking things, but he defends set plays so well. He's brilliant in the air, and he enjoys working hard. So yeah, I'm delighted to have him, and credit to my recruitment team for bringing him in.
Yeah, huge respect. Well, last season you finished 7th in Ligue 1, securing Conference League football. As we said, you're preparing for that right now with the youngest team in Europe, Europe's top 5 leagues. And to say, what are you expecting this season? You're currently 3rd in Ligue 1 as well. We're 2nd before the PSG match. I mean, this is a big season for you guys. What are you expecting from it?
I don't expect anything. That's not the way I see the season. I see football. If you go in with expectations, you're positive or negative. You normally end up disappointed in some way. I don't set limits on my players. I said that from day one when I came to the club. We just work as hard as we can in the moment. You can only affect the now. You can't affect the future. So in terms of my day-to-day, I try and make the day as productive as possible in terms of the training that we do, in terms of the meetings, in terms of the way the players train, our culture. Other than that, I don't think in the future at all, because it doesn't exist. It only exists when you get there. So for me, my biggest expectation is to make sure tomorrow's session is really good, to make sure our preparation for the game on Thursday is really good, and just take it step by step, but never with any limits to our ambitions.
Nice. But also with a young team will also come mistakes, right? I mean, everyone knows that. We've all played at some amateur level. You've played at the professional level. How do you manage that so their heads don't dip too low, you know?
I don't mind players making mistakes. I've seen old players make mistakes. It's part of football. Football is a game of mistakes. My attitude to football is, if you make a mistake, it's not a problem. If the next thing you do is the right thing. You know, I've asked my goalkeeper to play out from the back 6 yards from his goal. We've conceded goals from it, but I want my goalkeeper to take the ball again. Mistakes are a part of the game, and actually mistakes are a good thing. Because if you make a mistake and then you're educated on why that happened, then it doesn't happen again. So you need mistakes to happen to improve. So if you look at football now, it's such a short-term game. You see managers leaving their job after a month in the job. You have to be quite brave, I think, as a manager, to look at it as if you're accepting mistakes. But why I can be so brave here is because I'm supported so well. You know, it's a long-term project. So the people above me, Mark Keller and the guys at Blueco, they give me the time to allow my players to make mistakes, which allows me to coach authentically. So I don't feel like after 2 games, if we lose, I'm completely under pressure and we need to win the next game for me to keep my job. I think if you work in that way, you'll have long-term success in the end. And I'm really, really fortunate to have people who think the same way, so I can coach the way that I want to coach.
Can you talk to us a bit more about your coaching team as well? So there's been a couple of clips of you in the dressing room on social media, and you're speaking in English and you're being translated by an assistant. How is that all working?
amazing. Khalifa, he's not just the people call him a translator. He's my assistant. I play with Khalifa for Reading, Khalifa Cisse. I've known him for 20 years. And he's been incredible, not just in terms of the language, but understanding the culture of the players that we were working with, understanding the culture of the staff, the culture of the club and the country itself. He's amazing, and the players absolutely love him. They go to him with their problems. They trust him. Justin Walker, my other assistant manager, he's an outstanding coach. He's what would people would call a development coach, because he's worked with young players in young teams. But you can develop players if they're 18. You can develop players if they're 38. And Justin is outstanding in terms of the way that he goes about his work on the training pitch. I feel like I've got the best analyst in the world, and Ben Warner, who tactically understands exactly what I want. And our process is we have a very consistent process in the way we deliver games and the way we deliver meetings. He's integral to that. We have Sebastian Jimenez, the goalkeeper coach. He fits our philosophy, who understands the French way. Jean-Marc Quentz, who's been here I think since the club began, who's absolutely incredible. And we played with 2 academy players in Samuel Murabet and Abdul Watara. And it was actually Jean-Marc who knew them from the age of 11, 12. And knew everything about them. So when they came with us to the first team, he could fill me in on all the information. He's crucial to their development. I'm really, really fortunate. Philippe Coelho's come from Chelsea's under-23s. He's an outstanding coach as well. And for me as a young manager, it's really, really important to have a great staff. A lot of young managers would say in the beginning, and I'll be guilty of this, in my first couple of years, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to take every meeting. I wanted to take every session. But what happens is, if it's just you and your idea, you don't get the other perspectives of other people. You have your own blind spots. I don't know everything. So now I'm a lot more, I show a lot more delegation. My voice is heard less, and actually I'm more productive, and I think the players have more, their ears are more open when I'm speaking now. And that's things you learn. I'm still young now as a manager, but I'm learning as I go to trust my staff, to be visible when I need to be visible, and all the credit for all of the good things that have happened has to go to those guys.
Now, forgive the churlish question here, but who's in charge of set pieces?
When we score, it's me.
Oh, right, that's how it works.
If anything goes wrong, it's down to Ben. That's how it works here.
Love it. Well, you talked about your early days of managing. We talk about the EFL as well, and Derby, Hull. What has that transition been like from the UK to France?
Not as big as what you would probably expect. People are still people. People, regardless of where you come from, what your religion is, your country you're from, your gender, we all need the same things. And that's something that's been massive for me here, learning that. I don't speak the language. I'm learning the language, but I speak in English. But it's the same body language, the same connections. Every person who's involved in something needs to feel like they're important, that they're wanted, and they need to know where they're going. It doesn't matter if you're in France, if you're in England, if you're in Brazil, you want to feel part of something, you want to feel together. And I think I'm really, really fortunate in that I've had this experience here. Nothing really changes. A good culture is a good culture anywhere, and that's something that I'll take forward for the rest of my career.
In a previous interview, in a previous interview, you mentioned a little bit about lateness and how you sort of, your understanding around lateness, and you brought up a little bit about your family from Sierra Leone. So like how 3 o'clock in Sierra Leone isn't necessarily 3 o'clock. Yeah. And so I had a conversation with Vincent Kompany about this years ago, where he was describing a situation where he had to, when he was the captain at Manchester City, and one of his jobs was making sure players didn't turn up late. And he recommended this book called When Teams Collide. It's a business book. So it's all about, if you're an American company, you start doing work with a Japanese company, differences in business you need to be aware of. Or if you're working with those Brazilians, things you need to be aware of as well. And Kompany said that was really, really important for him as a captain and later as a coach, to understand all the cultural differences, bringing people together. And you've done a previous interview talking about this as well. And I'm fascinated to get your thoughts on it.
I feel very fortunate in my upbringing. I have to be honest. My dad was in the game. My dad grew up in Brixton and Clapham in South London. We have a Sierra Leone background, and I have that side. My mum's white working class from Tooting, South London. And my upbringing was of a mixture of cultures, a mixture of heritage, a mixture of understanding, different ways of living and different ways of being. But again, through my childhood, I understand that we're all the same. So we have different ways of living, different ways of being. But sometimes things can be interpreted in a different way from what it actually is. So, for example, coming here at first, I think we had a 25-man squad. I would say 20 of the 25 players were of West African and French backgrounds. Now, if I walked into a group culture like that and said, right, you have to be in 9 o'clock in the morning, you have to eat at 9:15, and you have to be in a team meeting room at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to happen. Not because they're disrespectful, it's just not the way that they've been brought up. It's not the way that they've been. And I know that because whenever there was a time for my family to get together in Brixton, we would say 2 o'clock. My aunties aren't coming till 7, 8 o'clock in the evening. It's a different culture. So you have to adapt the way that you work to the people that you work with. And what that does, it allows those people to be comfortable within the culture that you're setting. You allow people to be themselves. So the only time we really have, it's so funny, people say to me, what time do you train? I say, when we're ready. People, that's crazy. What do you mean? But what's happened here, I have a team meeting at 10:30. I don't think there's been one player late in my 15 months here because they respect the fact that I've given them the trust in other areas, but they know they have to be on time for that. But sometimes we'll come down, the players will do their pre-activation in the gym. There's music playing, they're dancing, they're singing. Some of the players are playing tech ball. They're enjoying their time in between what's a really intense meeting and then the training session. So we'll wait as coaches, we'll wait until we feel it's right, and then we'll take the lads out and we'll have to go out together, and then we start training. But if you set rules and boundaries on people and they break those rules and boundaries, you create conflict in your group and for no reason. So for me, the way we work here is we don't have set times. It might be different at a different club with a different culture, but that's what works here, and that's the way that we work.
And you're now working with Gen Z players. You've got a young squad. So last season, I was speaking to Ruben Amorim, and he mentioned, he goes, this generation of players, if you do a meeting longer than 7-8 minutes with video, forget it. That was the sound effect he made. How has this generation of players, coaching them, differed from how you, when you were a player, were being coached?
I think they're more demanding.
Okay.
They're more demanding. They want to know why. Especially in my early years, my coaches would tell me to run through a brick wall or jump in a cold river, and you go and do it. I think times have changed. I think players demand more. They want to know why. You have to explain why to players, which I love, because you get authentic buy-in. You know, if I'm authoritarian all the time, I say, right, go and do that. Maybe 80-90% of them will go and do it, but they'll question it and they won't be fully engaged in what they're doing. If you explain the reasons why and you get buy-in and belief into what you're doing, they'll be 100% in. So nothing really changes. I think whether it's Generation Z, my generation, if you're sat in a meeting too long, it's boring. You're going to switch off. So that's the key for me. It's not the time of the meetings, it's the content of the meetings. Now, yes, I try and keep my meetings short, and the shorter you can keep the meeting, the better. Some of my meetings go on for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but I change. The players never know what they're coming into. And some of the things I talk about, I don't just talk about football, I might talk about life, might present things in a different way, try and make it humorous. I think actually the players quite enjoy our meetings, and we do one every day. Before training, there's a meeting every day before training. It sets the tone and the culture for the team. But it's not what you would think that I go in and go, right, we're going to play 4-4-2 and this is the shape. We talk about life, talk about books, talk about films, talk about history. And I think they enjoy it because they don't know what's coming. And you have to keep players engaged and focused in what you do.
Yeah, don't want to blow your trumpet, but a lot of your leadership style sounds quite intuitive. And
100%.
We've covered a lot around cultural intelligence. We've covered a lot around connecting with people. How much work do you do on your leadership style? Is it just football, or do you go beyond? Is it travel? Is it food? Is it music? Because for me, connecting and communicating with people in high pressured environments is a real skill.
I don't really know. I knew I wanted to do this job. I'm somebody who, my mum was a social worker and she fosters children when I was 16 years old. So you have to have empathy when you're bringing children into your family that might stay for a year, who've come from broken homes or disadvantaged backgrounds. I've always been curious about life. I read, I watch films. I always want to connect with people. And my biggest thing is I want to treat my players how I wanted to be treated as a player. That's key for me. That's the most important thing, whether you're in the team or out of the team or even in the stand. You want to feel respected. You want to feel loved. And I'm not afraid to tell my players I love them. And when you create that connection with them, you can be harder with them. You know, I'm lucky enough to have children. It's not always well done. Sometimes you have to tell them the truth. But they have to know that you're telling them the constructive criticism because you love them. And I don't like to scream and shout at my players. I'd rather sit down with them and get to know them and understand them. I don't think that's anything to do with high performance environments or football. I just think that's life. I think if you want to get the best out of people, you need to get to know them. If you want to have strong relationships with people, you want to create really good connections and they're authentic. And that's the way I hopefully always. My biggest thing is whenever a player leaves me as a manager, it doesn't matter how good of a manager they think I am or my tactics or my sessions, they can say to whoever they know about me, do you know what, he's a good guy. He wanted the best for me. And I genuinely believe that's the best way to get the best out of people and get results in football matches.
One of the things I find interesting about football in general is that, and you have got, you know, we've mentioned it, one of the youngest squads in Europe, is that we as fans or people watching football expect these young men to be grown men. How do you prepare them for what they are going to face? Because as the things you're talking about, you are still schooling young men growing up, but realistically, if they miss that goal, if they don't perform that well, they're going to be treated as grown men with expellatives and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I think it's education. I think I've worked with at Derby. I worked with Curtis Davis, who was 38, and Phil Jagielka, who were 41. And I can speak for them, but they enjoyed that part of their career probably, they've said to me, more than any other part because they were learning. Education is everything. If you get angry with someone for making a mistake or missing a shot, you're missing the point. You know, for me, it's about giving players accountability. The beautiful thing about working with a young group is they're fearless. They've had no negative experience. So they don't go, for example, to PSG away going, cool, I remember I came here 3 years ago, we got beat 5-0. It's not in their mind. They're fearless. So it's their first experience for most of them. So they want to make it a positive experience. Having a young team has many benefits. That fearlessness, that energy, that desire, that growth mentality where they want to go on and achieve great things in their careers. These are all really, really positive things about having a young group, and you have to tap into that, and you have to use that as the motivation. You know, not just winning on a Saturday for these players is enough. They want to go on and be world-class Champions League players. So the bar and the demand you set for them is you show them what that looks like. You know, I show my players clips of Bayern Munich or Paris Saint-Germain, of Manchester City, Chelsea, because that's where they want to be. And then from there, if you set those demands and those targets for them, you can actually set and demand the same from them. So that's the way it works. And I really enjoy working with young players, but it's not about young or old. You know, people talk now about young or old managers and modern coaching. It's not about modern coaching. Coaching and management is 90% people skills. It's 10% football. It's more about the content of the character, the connection that you have with the individuals within the group, and what you can maximize out of them. And that's at any level of football, in any industry.
All right. What about Wayne Rooney? We have to talk about that. Derby County. I mean, what was that connection like? What was that learning experience like?
Amazing connection. I didn't know Wayne that well. Obviously, I played against him in our careers. Wayne came in as a player, and what a player. Even towards the end of his career, some of the things he was doing in training, it's just like, wow, he was a genius. And then we stepped in as a management team, and it's a really strange thing. The fact we didn't know each other within, I would say, 2 weeks, we completely trusted each other. It was something that just happened really organically. And Wayne taught me so many things. Pressure management, man management, being intuitive, the lessons that he took from Sir Alex Ferguson and what he put into the team in terms of the way he managed the group was incredible. And without that experience with Wayne, I don't think I would be the manager that I am now. So I've got a lot to thank him for. He's a great guy. I think he gets a harsh deal from the media because they don't know him. And again, we talk about prejudgment of people, where they're from, you know, or their accent or the way that they speak. Wayne is very intelligent, Wayne reads a lot. He wants to understand and connect with people. So to work with him was a real honour and a blessing, and he's someone I have a real lot of time for.
Okay, we have to talk about the Blueco connection. Strasbourg SC is part of the Blueco consortium and therefore part of, I guess, this multi-club structure, something we're seeing more and more in the world of football. I mean, look, we've spoken about it on this podcast. Some supporters weren't so happy about that. They've been very vocal about that. How difficult is it managing that relationship, the ownership entity, the fans as well, who obviously still need to trust who they're looking at on the field?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, whether you're a manager, a player, anything to do with any football club, you have to build trust. Trust is something you build over time. It's not something that's just given to you. So when I first came in, I was aware it's different. I'm a young coach from England who nobody knew me here. And I asked the fans to just trust what we were trying to do. I think over time, and it's normal, the fans here, they absolutely love this football club. This football club is huge in Alsace, in the region. It's so important and it's a very cultural thing. You know, the people in Alsace is like there's lots of different parts of France. Alsace is unique in its own culture and its own way of being, and the club is an extension of that. So for me now, whether it's multi-club ownership or an owner from abroad or an owner from the other side of the world, it takes time to build the trust. It takes time for fans to see that they want the best for the club. And I think for me, it's natural because it's still the early stages of that. You know, I think we're only 2.5 years into the project. I've been here for 15 months. It takes time to build trust. And I hope over time, what I would love to see is everybody who loves this club together, you know, supporting the club, wanting the best for it. And this is just a part of that process at the moment.
Is that why you signed a new contract, to build trust? Is that important to you?
It's everything. Without trust, you can't do anything in life. And I'm very lucky because I feel trusted by Blueco and by Mark Keller and the people here. And that enables me to do my job the best that I can. And it allows my players to feel like I trust them, you know. So for me, and I say it to the players all the time. It's one of the things, one of our lines, we have certain sayings that we live by is have your mates back. Have your mates back. You know, when you feel trusted and when you can be trustworthy is when you're empowered. And if trust is broken, it's finished in any relationship. So for me, I'm very, very fortunate to be in this position at the moment.
Now, 15 months in a club, part of a multi-club model, the player turnover is going to be high. And over the summer, several players left Strasbourg. How do you prevent dressing room sentiment from going, back to square one? Oh, okay, now we've got to do everything all over again. How do you keep the level high and keep them striving for more and more?
It's a good question. I think, well, it's not just multi-club ownership clubs that have high turnover. I was at Hull. I remember in January, I think we had a turnover of 15 players out and 13 players in January. In my second season. It's football now. It's normal. The turnover of players now at every football club is huge. I think where I'm fortunate is I can be selective in the players I want to stay, and we can be selective in the players who we think maybe it's their time to move on. And I'm a part of that decision making. I'm not the only decision maker, but I have part of the process in terms of the culture. What we did in the last transfer window, we identified people within our squad who we felt could move things forward and educate the new players coming in. For example, Emmanuel Omega. What an outstanding season he had last year, but what an outstanding leader he is within the group. Gela Doué the same, Diego Moreira. Kalle Jonsson, who's our number 2 goalkeeper. They are key people of influence within our group that we know can move the culture forward and help the new players coming in. So if you identify those characters within your group, people will look at the numbers, but the culture still feels exactly the same. It's crazy. We've got players from Argentina and Paraguay and Ecuador. They're still doing the same dances that the lads were doing last year with each other. So the culture continues because you keep really important people within that group and you can move things forward. And it's not about, people will say it's me doing a job. It's the staff. It's the physios. It's the masseurs. It's the kitmen. It's the doctors. Everybody plays their part in the feeling around the training ground. And I have to say, I'm very proud of that because it's a unique place. It's not like any other football club here. We've got the coach's office. There's music on from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening. They've had to turn it off for me next door because I'm doing this now. And then on the room next door, because the players' dressing room next door, they've got their own music on. They're singing and dancing. It's a really, really nice place to be. And that's down to everybody at the club being able to be themselves. And that's what enables the process to be sped up really, really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, how'd you sign me and Carl up, man? Club journalists, we are ready to go when you are. All right, let's move on because, look, it's currently Black History Month in the UK. So we wanted to end this with a focus on representation on and off the pitch. Look, you're one of a very few black managers. How important is it for you seeing representation across football and beyond in general?
It's everything. Just want a world where nobody is judged based on the colour of their skin, their background, their upbringing, their gender, their sexuality, their religion. I feel like, without going too deep, I feel like we're living in a time where there's extreme feelings again about immigration. I think people are misjudged and miseducated on certain things. And actually what I find, I'm really lucky, I'm mixed heritage. My mum's white, my dad's black. I realized very, very early in my life that we're all the same. Regardless of our small micro differences we have, our common values and our common core is exactly the same. It doesn't matter where you're from. For me, I feel like the argument on representation in, well, my job, for example, head coach, manager, it's missed. It's about, everybody's talking about the numbers, which is understandable, but nobody's talking about the value. The value of it is huge. If you have multicultural staff with different backgrounds and different profiles, you will improve your players so much quicker because they have reference points from the coaches of people who understand and connect with them. So when I first came here, I'll take Omega as an example. People said to me, he's a really difficult character. He's hard to get on with. He can be really emotional. But I understand his background. He's Nigerian. He has a Nigerian Dutch. He's got a different background. He's got different, we'll say, tells in the terms of his body language. He shows his emotion in a different way. Now, if you don't perceive that, or you have if you don't know what you don't know in life, so if you can't recognize that, you see it as a negative when it actually can be a really positive thing. So for me, the key to make this game better is to have, when you speak about numbers, more coaches, more managers from diverse backgrounds who can get best out of the players because they understand their backgrounds and they understand where they come from. I think that's the key. There is benefit to it. It's not just, oh, we need more black managers. For me, that's not the argument. The argument is understanding the value of multicultural places, understanding the value of diversity in not just football, in all communities. You know, there's a rhetoric now, not just in England, in Europe, about immigration and the differences between people again. And it makes me really sad. It makes me really, really sad because actually nobody's talking about the values of multiculturalism or the values of diversity. And I think that's the key in football is I would love this case to be a case study in 10 years' time of a young manager, regardless of my background, who understood and had empathy for his players. And his players enjoy coming every day and you get the best out of them. And I have to be honest, why? Because I have Khalifa Cisse, who is Malian, French, myself from Sierra Leone, English, Justin Walker from Nottingham, England. I've got Philippe from Portugal. We have a multi-diverse cultural staff who can understand the different players in our group. And I think that's where it's missed at the moment, is that you are missing. So if you do not have a diverse staff, you are going to have blind spots where you miss connections with your players to get the best out of them. And that's something that, not just in football, but in life, I think we need to talk about the positives of multiculturalism rather than the negatives, and not just talk about the numbers, but actually the value that it brings.
I hate to go back to the age of your team because I think it's so relevant right now, and simply because of social media. And, you know, like, we don't have to think too far back to what happened to Bukayo Saka, what happened to Rashford, Jadon Sancho at the Euros, and still ongoing in the Premier League. You've talked about the different makeups of players in your team. Some of these players are going to be going to football pitches in some parts of the world, some parts of Europe, that aren't going to accept them for who they are. How do you prepare them for that then, with the knowledge that you have?
I think some things in life you can only learn through a personal experience. I remember in pre-season, my first pre-season, we were in Germany. I think I was in the club for 3 or 4 days. And the lads were on the bus on the way to the training pitch. They had their African music on. They had Afro beats, a piano. They had everything. They were dancing, singing on the bus. I was at the front. And it was the feeling and the vibe on the coach was amazing. So we got to the training pitch. I said, lads, you can take that on the pitch, on the warm-up if you want. If it's going to make you feel good, take it onto the pitch. And he said, no, coach. When we're on the pitch, we're serious. But by me making that point to them, I was saying, be yourselves. Be yourselves. And the most beautiful thing, last season after we won a game at home, they're putting on those songs and the lads are dancing to them after the game. And what I was seeing in Strasbourg were young kids, whether they were black, white, North African, wherever they were from, they all had the sunglasses on, they were doing the same dances. And actually these players for the first time in their careers and their lives were being celebrated positively for where they come from. So for me, I want always, it doesn't matter if you're from West Africa, from Portugal, from Ecuador, from Argentina or from England, be proud of where you're from, but actually understand that you can connect with people in your own way. So for me, it's not about preparing the players for the difficult times. It's making them strong enough to be proud of where they're from. So when those difficult times come, they can equip themselves to deal with it in the best way possible.
Where's your end destination, do you reckon? Or next step, Premier League? I'm sure.
I have no idea.
People have been on the blow up because I mean, look, we talk about representation. The Premier League, of course, has had black coaches, but representation is so important in the Premier League as well. The greatest league, some might say, in Europe.
I think one thing I've learned: this is a fantastic league here. My end goal, my end destination, I have no idea. And like I said to you at the beginning about what's the team ambition, my ambition is just to work in the moment, in the now. That's the key. What's to come is to come. But if I take my eye off the ball and think, oh, where am I going to be next? Or where am I going to be in 5 years' time? I'm losing focus on this moment. That sounds like a very political answer.
No, do you know what? It's not. He's
very good.
It's very good.
It's the truth. Obviously, look, I would love to one day work back in the Premier League one day. But when that comes, I have no idea. I'd love to manage my country. I'd love to manage England one day. I'm not saying I'm going to. But these are all things that I would love to do and experience. But I know I won't get there if I don't do the job now. My focus is on this group of players, on this club, on the game on Thursday, and what happens takes care of itself in the future.
All right, let's leave it there. Liam, really appreciate your time, sir. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for the words of wisdom. I'm leaving inspired a little bit here. Like, to change my leadership techniques. Man.
I want to know more about these film and book recommendations you're giving your players.
Man, I love The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. I've made the players with that. Old Man and the Sea.
Great book.
Yeah,
great book.
These books are inspiring. Shawshank Redemption's been spoken about.
Of course.
And a lot of the lads didn't know about or Good Will Hunting. That's another great film for a young player. It's a great film about development and life development, and it doesn't matter where you come from. These are all things that are players, and they enjoy it. They speak about it, and there's different ways to learn.
I
Absolutely.
mean, that's a bonus podcast on its own. Like book and film recommendations. I'm all about that. All right, let's leave it there. Cheers, brother.
Hemingway, man. We're talking Hemingway in the foot.
Top stuff.
No, thank you guys.
For more from the Athletic FC podcast, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We've got top journalists like David Ornstein, Matt Slater, Adam Crafton, Carl Anka, and plenty more through the entire season. Make sure you don't miss an episode of the Athletic FC. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts from.